to the Wichmann and Company Podcast. I hope you're doing well. This is our second episode. This is where people grow, small community comes together, we connect, and we speak all kinds of stuff. And today, I am joined by Cody. So here's a fun thing. Hi, Cody. Cody,
Hey.
he has a story to tell. It's awesome. He teamed up with his wife to create something like really simple, really smart, and super impactful. $2website.com. And welcome to the show, Cody. Please tell me, who are you and what is $2website.com?
Yeah, thank you. So $2website.com. My wife and I started a web agency. We're making websites for small businesses. And the most common thing we hear from small businesses is either we get some steps down the sales cycle and they're like, I can't afford, $2,000 or whatever right now to get my website up and going. But then they're also like, well, I don't have 20 hours to go and learn Squarespace or Wix or WordPress or something like that. So they're in this, a lot of small businesses are in this weird place where they're both time poor and cash poor, and they still need a website. And so we were like, well, how could we solve this problem for them? So we built $2 website, and it's free to build on. It's $2 a month. And in literally 1 hour, you have a website up and going. It's super easy. You just click to add text, click to change pictures, and the layouts are all mobile optimized. It automatically optimizes your images, everything. So we've worked with people from 20 years old to 65 years old, and literally in 1 hour, you can have your website up and going. And it's just $2 a month to host.
That is just amazing to begin with. And I work, except having this podcast at Wichmann Co. I work for an EMS company. I'm not going to even mention the name because the website is probably one of the worst I've ever seen. I'm not kidding. And I was like, I think I'm going to put a name under my boss's nose here next week. Seriously. Because he was like, a website is so important to small businesses. My question is, what do you do if you don't have a website?
So for people who don't have websites, it's hard. It's hard to get the word out these days. 97%, say you're a plumber and you do plumbing for local businesses or you're just like a local plumber, the plumber guy. 97% of people are starting with a Google search. When their toilet breaks, they don't have your number memorized. They're going to start with a Google search. And if you don't come up in the Google search, you're missing a lot of the potential customers. So it's really difficult to get found, even for local businesses these days, if you don't have a website.
And a lot of people don't know all the SEO. And as a small business person, that is information that takes time to learn, take time to acquire, and you just don't have time for that kind of stuff. So to be able to build a website quickly and easily, and not spend a fortune of it, it must be equivalent about small business. But you made a major life pivot, working in IT, you said, and launching a business with your wife. That's a challenge. What was the moment that you decided now it's time to build something of your own?
So
That's a scary step.
yeah, it was. So it's a thing we had talked about off and on for a long time. I've wanted to do something, but I wasn't quite sure what. At one point I started building studio management software for piano teachers, but that didn't really go anywhere. At one point I developed a grocery delivery kind of mobile app, kind of like Instacart.
Okay.
This was 8 years ago when Instacart was kind of small, so before the pandemic, but it didn't really go anywhere, and now the market is saturated. So I've wanted to do this for a long time, and we were in Paris. We went on a vacation to Paris, and we were walking around. We saw the Louvre, we saw the catacombs and stuff, and I was just like, you know what? We should do that business thing that we've been talking about. Like something about being in this city that's like 1,000 years old. I was like, it's time to do something new.
Old versus meet technology. Okay, I can see that. Okay. Did you
Yep,
climb the Eiffel Tower?
we
Was that
did.
up at the top of the Eiffel Tower? You forgot the moment.
Yep, yep.
Yep, that's how it was. And so many people, that's interesting. I love it because it's when you least expect you getting something like that, that you're like, today is the day. We're gonna start
Today's
doing
the
this.
day.
So what did you do? Did you go home and like dive in? How am I gonna do this? Or what happened when you came home from Paris?
Um, I gave 3 weeks notice at my job,
Oh
and
crap. We were that serious. We
yep,
didn't even like glide in here like doing it side by side. You just like, "Hep, no, I'm done. I'm gonna go this way."
yep.
That's brave.
So, and it's been a fun ride. So it started off. We actually did before we did $2 website. We had this thing called Blueberry Web Builder,
Mhm.
and that had a little bit different target audience. That was targeted at um, sort of like older individuals who just like aren't on the internet at all. Like they don't even have a Facebook page. And it turns out that one didn't go so well because those people are impossible to find and market to.
Oh, oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, because they're not on there.
Yep, there's
It's
just no way to
mailing,
get. Yep,
snail mail, not
exactly.
email. Right.
um, so we ended up we did some freelancing for a while, just regular websites for people, and then we built the $2 website, and that's actually taken off really well. It's much more intuitive. People like the product, and it just goes well.
So how do you like the digital world? You talk about your former company here,
Hmm.
where you can't find people. How do you find people and make it the digital world more accessible for people who really are right now are online? Uh,
Hmm.
and can you give some advice to somebody who just feels stuck, like me sometimes?
Yeah. So, like, advice on finding people or advice on uh,
Both.
what
Both.
both?
Like I think that a lot of us starting up a small business and
Hmm.
we don't really know where to start in the digital world because it's a big world. Is it the best way to go with a website or with Facebook and social media? Combine them. What would be
Yeah.
the when you started this? Where did you start? Of course, at the website, but how? What else?
Yeah. So we went to a lot of like local networking meetings. Like
Mhm,
probably some of your audience is familiar with like BNI
mhm.
or um, or even just like local networking
Several
meetings.
commerces.
Yeah, like meetups. Just there's just people. Like you just go and have conversations. You have like an idea of what you want to do, and then you just go and have conversations with people, and you try to figure out like, oh, I want to do this. Does that like is there a match between what I want to do and what people actually need? And if there is, like people are gonna respond when you're sharing your message with them. For a lot of people, one of the things that I recommend the most is like there's a lot of people, even people who have been in business for like 3 or 5 or even 8 years, that they don't have their message fully sorted out.
Right.
They're like, I do this, and it's just sort of vague, and it doesn't inspire anybody to like, it doesn't call people to action, as it were.
Right.
And so, if you can figure out like, well, I know I want to do, say, it's graphic design, and I know I want it to be for um, like uh, like shoes, right? I want to do graphic design on shoes. Well, if you can narrow it in that much, it becomes really easy to start finding your audience because that's really specific. Graphic design on shoes. Well, you have to go find people who make shoes. Like
Right.
that's the whole thing. Um, and for a lot of small businesses, like the idea is more vague and the audience is more vague. But if you can start to refine that, then you can dial in on the audience and you can dial in on the message, and then you start solving people's problems. And that's really what you're all about, is solving solving problems for people. But if you can't articulate what problems you're solving, it becomes difficult to find your audience. So that's one thing that I recommend to a lot of people who are just getting started in the digital side of their business, is really refine your message, really refine your audience, and then just go where they are. So that might be Facebook groups, that might be on Reddit, that might be on TikTok. If you're a local business, that's probably through a website and a combination of like a website and Google reviews. But it's just figuring out your message, figuring out your audience, and then just going where that is and sharing the message.
And when it comes to building a website, what content is important to have on your website, except your phone number and your email? What do you see as a website builder, small business person yourself, and working in IT?
Mm-hmm.
What is important to put on there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always tell people, nobody's browsing your website for fun. Everybody
That
who
is
comes to your
true.
website, yeah,
Love it. Love it. Take that with you, people.
everybody who comes to your website, they have a problem. And if they made it to your website, that means that you convinced Google or maybe Facebook or whatever platform you're marketing on. That means that you convinced Google that you had the answer to their problem. So once they get to your website, they know what their problem is. You just have to show them that you understand their problem and that you can solve it. And that whole process should only take about 3 seconds. If your customer comes to your website and they can't look at your website and know that you understand their problem and you can solve it for them in 3 seconds, your website's not doing its job. So that needs to happen first, is that you can demonstrate that you understand your customer's problem and you can solve it. And then after that, it depends kind of on the industry. Some industries are going to rely more on social proof. So you might have like testimonials, or you might have try to establish credibility in other ways. Like, for example, you might, maybe you're a hairdresser and you have like awards or certificates in some like balayage or special hair coloring or something like that.
Right.
You're going to want to put that proof that you not only understand their problem and can solve it, but that maybe you've done it in the past through testimonials, or you're certified to do it. And so those are kind of the most important things, especially for small businesses and startups, is that you understand their problem, you can solve it, and then you provide some sort of proof that you actually can solve it.
That's awesome. Because I think a lot of people, and I made this mistake myself in my early businesses, that I didn't realize what problems I was solving for somebody else. I was just doing something I was enjoying and it was fun and let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
And as time went, I was older, not as young and dumb. I'm still dumb, maybe, but not as young. You learn and you realize that um, that it is a problem. That's kind of a purpose of being in business, is
Mm-hmm.
doing it right. Um, but to be able to put that in a message on a website, and you have 3 seconds, people. 3 seconds. That's not a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And it's like you're scrolling through TikTok or any social media. You have a split of a second to catch that moment of the reader to make it interesting or not interesting, because it goes fast while we're scrolling. Think about it yourself when you're doing it. So you built $2 website because you obviously saw there was a need
Mm-hmm.
and a problem to solve. Can you share a story or a moment when you realized how much impact an affordable website, an affordable, simple website could have on a small business?
Yeah. So this is like, with $2 website, it's always really interesting because we'll go meet with people and I'll be explaining like what $2 website is, and people don't get it. Like they're like, it takes them a second to be like, oh, that's what it is. Oh, and it's $2. Oh, I need that.
I
um,
need to ask you. I need to ask, how can you fund like $2 a month? That like my finance, like how does this go around financially?
mhm,
Like two
mhm.
dollars for me as a business owner is like cheap. So
Yep.
so how do
Yeah,
you make
it's
your budget? even.
It's super cheap. There's a lot of very creative software choices that we made um, that make it super efficient on our end for the storage, and then also super efficient to serve it out. And the great part about all the choices that we made is it actually makes the website better. So it makes it more performant. To get a little bit technical, if you build a website like on another website builder, and then you go and you look at the code, there's a lot of um, what are called divs. There's like a there's a lot of wasted code. Let's say
Right.
when you build a website on $2 website, there's no wasted code. So all of the code is very very focused, and all of the images get compressed and resized at the desktop size and the phone size and all of the correct sizes. And so we've been able to write the code in such a way that it makes your website very efficient for us storage and server wise, but then that also translates to speed gains for people who are visiting your website. So
Okay.
that's pretty cool.
And now, because I interrupted you almost rudely, back to that, I want to know the share a story or moment that was impactful for others in your website.
Yeah, one one person I really like this. I was onboarding a gentleman who's in his early 60s, and he was running for political office in the state, and he just needed like a landing page that kind of had his platform. So I was helping him set that up. He was one of our early customers, and it took a little bit over an hour because he it took a minute to get all of the things rolling for him,
Mhm.
but at about an hour and a half, he calls his wife in, and he's like, "Check out this button. See this button? When I press this button, it moves. It creates a new section, and this one it moves the section down. It's like so intuitive. It's exactly what you would expect." That was like, I love telling that story to people because that's really what the experience is. It's so intuitive that even like people in their 60s are getting on this platform, and when they've had a minute to get used to it, they're like, "Oh, this is intuitive."
It
I
should
love
have
that
an
story.
impact on him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is so good. And if people say like, yeah, he was in his 60s. My grandmother before her she passed away. She was in her upper 80s, beginning of 90s. She passed away when she was 92. So at least until she was 91. She was scrolling Facebook and she was going on website, and I kid
Mm-hmm.
you not, she was rocking Instagram. I had to follow my grandmother on social media. And when I when she passed away, I had to close down all her social media, and I was like, "Oh, okay." She's okay. She was savvy. She was savvy. I
Grandma's
didn't
got
know my
Riz.
grandmother. Like, if TikTok was a thing back then, she would have been on TikTok. I'm telling
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like that would be something that. So this is something that basically anybody can do easily to help their business.
Yep. I tell people if you can send an email, you can build a website on this platform.
That sounds easy because I checked your website out. I did not try to build a website, uh, but it really looks that easy. And I think that, agree with me or not agree with me, if you go when you go into business, one thing that is intimidating is websites,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people have this thinking that websites are expensive. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Time
Mm-hmm.
consuming.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know code. At least that helps if you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody today knows what HTML is stands for. Bracket. You know, I know basic HTML coding because I learned it in high school, that which was many years ago, which has though helps me. But today everything is so easy and it's movable and fixable. So you just have to be there. How
Yeah.
do you, as a small business, even if, and I can say that Wichmann Co doesn't have the best website right now because I haven't spent that much time on it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe when this is launched, it will be better. But at the time of recording, it's there at least. There is something. Um, but small businesses needs to have a website, even
Yeah.
if it's just the simplest thing ever. And how do we improve the SEO? Can you tell us what is SEO for those who just don't know what it is? And how does $2 website help with SEO?
Yeah, great questions. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And if you talk to like an SEO expert, they'll probably give you a really long, complicated answer. But the real way to think about this is it goes back to that solving people's problems thing. So Google, the problem that Google solves for people is, um, say let's go back to the plumbing example. So
Mhm.
say your toilet breaks and you're looking for a plumber, and you type plumber broken toilet in my city. The problem that Google is solving for people is connecting the person searching with the most likely plumber that's going to solve that problem. So Google has to figure out, okay, who is most likely to solve this problem? And they do it through a really large algorithm that involves a lot of things, that involves things like how long have you been on the internet? When people go to your page, how long do they spend there? If people are going to your page, are they clicking the button? Do you have a Google profile? Are people leaving reviews on your Google profile? Um, does the words on the page make it look like you are an expert and can solve people's problems? So Google's looking at all of this, but at the end of the day, search engine optimization is how you make your website look like you can solve people's problems, and doing that in a way that Google can understand. And so there's like a lot of factors to it. So if you talk to an SEO guy, they'll talk about, you know, backlinks and domain authority and
Greek language,
yeah, exactly.
Chinese, I don't get it.
For like small businesses, um, I whenever we've done a website for people, I always recommend what I call the $0 SEO plan, because when you're just getting started, this is all you want to do. You don't want to go and spend a lot of money on a campaign for something that you don't fully understand and isn't bringing in money yet. So you want to start with what's free and what's cheap on dollars and cheap on time when you're a small business. So I always recommend what's called the $0 SEO plan. And that goes like this. Step one is you get on Google and you get a Google business profile. Step two is you get a website with a clear call to action. That's the thing I was talking about earlier, where people aren't browsing for fun. They have a problem and they want you to tell them you can solve it within 3 seconds. That's what the call to action is. And you need to show them what to do next. So Google business profile, website with a clear call to action. And then every time you do a service for somebody, you request a Google review. Because if you're a small business, you're already doing the hard part. You're already providing good service to a lot of your customers. And you just need to go that one extra step and ask them for a review. And then what that does is Google looks at those reviews really closely and they say, oh, this person is providing, like say they're a plumber or a hairdresser. This person is providing good service. If somebody's looking for hair coloring in my city, this person can solve that problem. And so they start moving you up and up and up in those search results. So you get more and more likely to be contacted. So that's what I recommend. There's so much more to SEO, like we were talking about, you know, keyword research, authoritative backlinks, domain authority, all these things. But for people who are just starting out, I suggest that $0 SEO plan. Get a Google business profile, make sure you have a clear call to action, and then make sure you work those reviews and get more reviews, and you'll see yourself move up in the Google ranks.
Could you imagine 15 years ago what impact Google would have today?
Yeah, for real. The other day, a
What did
couple
we
months
do
ago,
before? For Google is really a thing. Like
yeah.
today is really like, what does Google think? What does Google say?
Hmm.
And now we're also coming into Chat GPT and
Hmm.
AI. What does AI have of impact of this kind of website industry, and not just for small business, but to create the social media, the online presence?
Yeah. Um, it's it's changing a lot of things. Like even $2 website it's using AI in the background. When you go and you build a $2 website, it uses AI to help you generate a lot of the sections and the layouts and the content and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And most of the major web builders, WordPress, Squarespace, they all have GoDaddy. They all have an AI integration somehow.
Right.
Um, and and the same with graphic design. Like you're running your Facebook page, um, probably more than half of those graphics you see used some form of AI to generate them. Uh, if you're say you're in a business group and people are posting infographics and stuff, more
Right.
than half of those are AI generated. And so the thing about AI though is people are starting to know when it's real content and when it's fake content.
Right.
Um, like you show, even if it's really high quality AI, people know the difference and they want real human content. And so for a small business, back to that thing about message, about how you have to have a clear message and a clear audience, and then just get your message in front of your audience. Um, you need to be the one who comes up with the message, because and definitely work with the AI to refine the message, to help you pick words that match the audience better. Like I do this all the time. I'll get on ChatGPT and I'll be like, well, I'm going to make a YouTube video. Can you give me some YouTube video ideas? And then that'll start me thinking about it. And then I'll pick one or two of those and I'll write a script. And the script is usually bad the first time around. But then what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll put the script back into ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT can revise the script. And then I take the revised version and I do my edits.
Right.
But what that does is I'm using the AI as kind of like a sounding board, but the message is still my message and it's still my voice at the end of it. And people want that. So using AI, if you're generating infographics or if you're generating a website, if you're generating copy, whatever you do, you need to make sure that you keep your voice there and it's got the human element through the whole thing and not just like rely on it to come up with all of the content, because people are starting to get wise to that and they'll just scroll past at this point.
Yeah. I same thing, and I can admit this. I went actually. Facebook told me that it was a year ago, and a year and a week or so,
Mm-hmm.
that I was in a class about ChatGPT and AI, and I was completely against it. Like there was nothing in this entire world that could make me believe that an AI or a ChatGPT could write things better than I can.
Mm-hmm.
Have in mind, English is my 4th language. I don't know what
Wow.
I was thinking, really. Like, uh, today, ChatGPT is my best friend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the same way as you just described, that you get an idea and you just start to like kind of juggle ideas back and forth with an AI and ChatGPT, which
Mm-hmm.
feels awkward, but I have to admit I do it every
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
And just that sense you have to make it your own.
Yes.
When I started Wichmann Co, I just because I had mine on WordPress and WordPress creates this AI. I was like, this is going to be fun. I'm going to try it because I
Mm-hmm.
was in my mind going to do it all myself because I know how to do it. And I was like, they came up with this, "Oh, let AI do it." I'm like, yeah, put it to the test. I've redone some of it, not all of it, but it was very interesting to see how AI, for me as a small business person, actually has made it a lot easier uh, to just write the content on my
Mm-hmm.
website, and I just have to, as you said, yeah, tweak it to make it coming from me, being my words. I wouldn't say it a certain way, um, and with my accent and not being. Uh, 100% American speaking, so to say. I have my own twists on sentences and words. Um, People would know that no, she didn't write that.
Mm-hmm.
That's something else. But AI for me has been very good tool to use, but
Mm-hmm.
not to rely on. It, that's just my $2 of it. But I
Yeah.
have to ask you here, from
Uh-huh.
AI to something completely different, starting a business with your wife, that is an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
How much tension have you both been on the same path all the time?
No.
Like, you always say, it's like, "Don't start a business with a family member. That's stupid. You're going to fight." So I have to be nosy here and ask, how has that worked out?
It's been really good.
Would you
Okay,
recommend it to somebody else?
probably not. But I would do it again.
Okay, yeah,
I'm
thank
just
you.
that special kind of
I'm
crazy.
glad. But
Um,
what has surprised you the most? Not about
so
your wife. I hope you knew her before you started, but starting a business together with your wife.
a couple of things. So one story. So my wife, she went to college for graphic design. She
Hmm.
loves art. She was going to be a sculpture major and ended up doing graphic design. Um, but her thing is she loves to make design driven websites. She likes to make beautiful websites. She tells people all the time the internet is too gray, it's too boring, there needs to be more color on the internet. um, and and I was like, well, I'm a programmer, I want to make websites that are fast and like correct and like match all of the um, best practices and are super secure. And it turns out that uh, those aren't those goals can both point in the same direction, but those are not the same goal. And so back to that thing about message, she would go to a meeting and she would tell people, we're going to build a website and it's going to be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And then I would go to a meeting and I'd be like, we're going to build you a website and it's going to be super fast and it's going to perform great on Google and you're going to have the best content. And so we weren't clear in our messaging, and we didn't grow very fast in the beginning as a result of that. It took us a minute to be like, well, when you go to a meeting you say this, and when I go to a meeting I say this, and we're not like painting the right picture in the customer's mind about what their problem is and how we're going to solve it. And um, so it took a minute for us to both get on the same page there. um, but now we've been able to structure the business in such a way that we both are able to do the things that we're passionate about and still clearly communicate the message to our customers. So that's one part. Another story was one time we were making a little menu, and um, I was like, I can't really envision this. Can you like draw it on a piece of paper? So she takes a minute and she like sketches it out. And I'm like, okay, I got this. I can go code it up. So I go and I code it up, and uh, and I come back and I'm like, I coded it up. And she looks at it and she's like, what are you talking about? This doesn't look anything like what I said. And I was like, no, it's exactly, look, that this word matches that word, and there's the button that you showed. And she's like, no, no, not at all. Look, it doesn't have this indentation, and these sizes aren't the sizes that I drew. And it took us about 20 minutes for us to realize that the other person had a completely different headspace.
Oh, but it sounds like though you are complementing each other very well, with her being on the graphic side and you being on the
Mm-hmm.
code side or the more technical side of it. And then it's just about finding that middle line, talking the same language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of
Mm-hmm.
what you're talking about. And that's interesting because it's to me from the outside seems like it fits so well
Uh-huh.
to do that. But are
It's
you talking dinner, like work over dinner as well, or are you that structured family? It's like it's gonna be 8 to 5, and after 5, it's not gonna be a word about business.
Yeah. It depends on the day. I I am always on. Like I am always thinking about like for example in the $2 website recently I implemented some feature that involved this like complicated web API, and it took about 2 weeks to do, and I was just thinking about it nonstop. Like from the minute I woke up to the minute I went to bed, I was like thinking about like how I can like reshape this data and then like split these nodes in the tree over here. And so sometimes we go on walks after our kids go to bed, and so we'll often talk about business on those. But some nights she's like, "It's after 5, we're done. We're not going to talk about this.
Let me rest. Peace on
Yeah.
earth. Peace in the family.
Exactly. Yep.
So if every listener could take something within small practical step today, I think I know what I'm going to take along with me from this conversation to strengthen their digital presence,
Mhm.
move closer to their dream. What would you encourage them to do first?
Mhm. Um,
Figure out what to do.
yeah, I maybe the one thing, if you haven't done this already, is make sure that you have your message and your audience. So really clearly, like just take like 20 minutes and sit down and be like, who are actually my customers and what are their problems? Okay, that's their problems. How can I show them that I understand their problems and I can solve it? I'm the person to solve it. If you have that in hand, like that is the biggest competitive advantage, is understanding your audience well enough to say, I know what your problems are and I can solve them, because that's what everybody's looking for. And that's how you really make an impact in the world, is by solving people's problems. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of businesses that just make money. But if you want to be like a really impactful business, you solve people's problems. And that's awesome.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people, like myself in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey in life, was just like, I want to do something, but I don't know what I'm doing. And
Uh-huh.
that's what I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
Just go for it. And a lot of people say if you have an idea, go for it before you've even figured it out, which is kind of true. But as you say, the knowing who your audience really is
Mhm.
very important. And I get this question a lot of times with the podcast of future guests, like, what is your target audience? And people expect me to answer an age. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm not into age. I don't care how old you are. I'm all into the mindset of entrepreneurship and small business, helping solving the small business, whatever it can be. Each
Mhm.
episode, each guest I have here brings something different to them. And I think you've solved a lot of people's problems today with just all the advice you have given. So it's it's different for whatever you're doing as well, each
Mhm.
company. For me, it's
Mhm.
not, I don't care if you're 25 or if you're 95. If you're into small business and running and being an entrepreneur and all this kind, go for it. I'm your supporter. So where do you see you, your wife, and your business in 5 years?
Oh, in 5 years. Um,
You can do 10 or 15 if you want to do that. Go for it. Like
uh,
in 25, I'm going to be retired on a beach in Hawaii. I don't know.
yeah, I want to keep, I, there are a lot of people where their exit plan, when you're starting a startup, you talk about your exit plan. A lot of people, the exit plan is to sell. I don't think I want to sell. I want $2. This is silly, but I always tell my wife the world deserves $2 website, because there's a lot of other platforms out there, and they each have strengths and weaknesses. Um, but for the average person, you can't find something that's more affordable. Even if you're hosting WordPress, it's going to be $3, $5 a month, and you're going to be looking at a 3-year contract. $2 website is $2 a month, and there's no contract. You cancel anytime. And also, it lets people it lets people just get their message out there. And that's a thing that small businesses deserve. They deserve to be able to get their message out there without having to spend hours and hours to become a web designer, or having to spend thousands to hire somebody to do it. They deserve to be able to get started. So I want to be running $2 websites in 5 years. Um, I have like all of these like technical dreams about like, making our own CDN and having like space in colos all across the globe. That would be cool. Right now, we're just a really tiny shop and we don't have our own CDN and stuff like that. But
It's coming. It's
it's
coming.
I think so.
Well, if you don't dream, if you don't have a vision and don't have anything to work for, why are you even in business, right?
Yeah.
That's you just have to figure out a way to reach that. I know where I want to take Wichmann and Company for the next 5 years, even though this is just a start. This is the second episode of the podcast, but I still have a mind of where I want to be in 5 years and where I want to bring it. So I think that is also an important thing to have that a little in mind. And here's a fun thing because you mentioned exit plan.
Hmm.
I've been an entrepreneur for many years. I'm not going to say how old I am because I'm older than you think. Um, but it was
25 for
right,
sure.
plus shipping. Go for it. But it was not until 5, 6 years ago that I, for the first time, heard about you need to have an exit plan. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, what? Excuse me, what? I'm not in the mood of talking about me leaving this right now, but as time has gone and I've learned and I've grown, I have realized that exit plan, I should probably have thought about that when I started. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I really have no clue where I'm going to go. So I think that is something that people in small business don't really think about. And they don't, it's like dying. You don't want to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What are
Mm-hmm.
you gonna do that day? Just call it retire. How are you gonna end up on that beach and relax and do nothing, right? It's not about just gonna close it, but there got to be a day where you might not want to be in the business, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be dramatic,
Yeah.
right? So, well, thank you, Cody. Any last words you want to have squeezed in here? We've covered a lot.
Yeah. We covered a lot of ground.
I gave you a couple of questions from the get go, and it was like we've been all over the place in between all those questions. It feels like, but
Mm-hmm.
it's been a great conversation. A lot to take with you, and yeah, a lot to think about. And as all of you know, hopefully, go to the website and the show notes, and you can find all Cody's information, his website, his email. I think we're gonna put on there with his permission. I don't really know yet, but his social media and all of it and all the show notes, transcript, you'll find it there, both on all platforms and on our website at wichmannandco.com. Thank you, Cody, for joining me today. It's been so much fun. I hope y'all are coming back. Don't forget to follow and like us on all social media platforms. I couldn't even say that. Have a good day and see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.
Bye.